Hey, thanks for joining me. Hope you're doing well. Shambhala, which is a Sanskrit word meaning place of peace or place of silence, is a mythical paradise spoken of in ancient texts, including the Kalachakra Tantra and the ancient scriptures of the Zhang culture which predated Tibetan Buddhism. According to legend, it is a land where only the pure of heart can live, a place where love and wisdom reigns, and where people are immune to suffering, toil, and old age. The idea of Shambhala is said to have outer and inner meanings. The outer meaning understands Shambhala to exist as a physical place, although only individuals with the appropriate karma can reach it and experience it as such. Those who have risen above their own animalistic nature and gone inwards, those who have activated the green ray of their heart, may pass into the semi-physical, semi-ethereal paradise of Shambhala, which, as I've been describing, is located at the Arctic, at the North Pole of our flat plain. It's said that the kingdom is completely surrounded by snow mountains. These outer mountains are very similar to what Gerhard Mercator mentioned in his 1577 letter to John Dee, writing, "The mountain range goes round the north like a wall, save that in 19 places the indrawing channels flow through it." We can clearly see the surrounding mountains in the 1595 Mercator map. So if one were to travel by sea, they would simply have to find one of the openings in order to make the easiest entrance in. Shambhala is lush with parks and meadows, flowers, and abundant vegetation. All the inhabitants of Shambhala live in absolute peace and harmony, free from sickness or hunger. They are all of a healthy and beautiful appearance, and their language is Sanskrit. There are no such things as physical punishment or imprisonment, as there is nobody to be punished. The kings are not tyrannical, but are religious figures, and evil is foreign to the land. As pure of a place this is, the inhabitants are not said to be renunciants of the material world, but rather enjoy all pleasures that we do, and use them as a means of liberation. This non-dual, unified attitude towards the physical is curious, especially when we think of the various spiritual and religious practices of these outer lands, many of which deem the material world as corrupt or something one must distance themselves from, as is promoted in Gnosticism, Christianity, and Buddhism. It's said that the inhabitants of Shambhala possess all sorts of extraordinary psychic powers, such as the ability to read others' thoughts, to foresee the future, and walk at very high speeds. They also have the ability to become invisible. It's an intermediary state between samsara and nirvana, samsara being the state everyone who is watching this is in, the cycle of reincarnation, and nirvana being the liberation from this cycle of rebirth and death. Shambhala is therefore considered to be the best place to achieve enlightenment and spiritual wisdom, the final earthly point before liberation. As pure of a place this is, some sources say the people of Shambhala are not fully enlightened. They still retain some human failings and illusions, but fewer than people of these outer lands. Enlightenment, however, is the goal, and it's the highest attainment for those in Shambhala. Various mythological paradises have been associated at one point or another with the North Pole. For a quick mythological review, check out our video on mythology. Interestingly, the Hebrew term for the north alludes to a mystical location, a hidden or secret place. Tsaphon means north, and this comes from the root tsaphan, which means a hidden, treasured, or secret place. The specific layout of this region is unknown, but we do know there are 4 island continents. The Mahabharata describes one of these island continents, stating that it is the residence of the Siddhas, the enlightened sages. The trees there bear sweet fruits and flowers. Some of the trees yield fruits according to the will of the plucker. The people of that country are free from illness and are always cheerful. 10,000 and 1000 years they live, and never abandon one another. For practitioners of the Tibetan Bon tradition, Shambhala is called Tagzik Olmo Lung Ring. Its description is very similar to that of Shambhala, being a realm where peace and joy abounds. The only difference from Shambhala is that instead of Mount Meru being in the center, it is a sacred mountain called Yangdrung-Gutsek, where 4 rivers flow from. Toxic Olmo Lung Ring is said not to be accessible to humans in the state of dualism. In order to enter, one must diligently purify the body and mind. Bon monks consider it a great honor and spiritual achievement to be reborn in Olmo Lung Ring. William Warren, the author of Paradise Found, knew of this divine location, and I urge anybody who would like a more specific review to check out that book. I have posted a free version in the description. From it, I quote, "Whoever seeks as a probable location for paradise, the heavenliest spot on earth, with respect to light and darkness, and with respect to celestial scenery, must be content to seek it at the Arctic Pole. Here is the true city of the sun. Here is the one and only spot on earth, respecting which it would seem as if the Creator had said, as of his own heavenly residence, there shall be no night there." A quick search will show vast interest in flat Earth's ice wall. I've stated before, this is not the direction we should be looking. The southern ice wall is a red herring, and the compass will continuously point us to the north, where the aurora borealis calls us, like a lighthouse, for all who feel lost and drawn to go home. To facilitate this polar return, I have organized a team called the North Seal Project in order to pave the way for those who feel drawn to be a part of this journey. For more information, check out our recent videos. Thanks for the support, everyone. I love you all.
So we've been saying the Holy Grail this entire time. What is it? So it's a relic of medieval literature, and in some stories, it's a magic cauldron that revives the dead. Sometimes it's a stone, but it's usually a chalice that when one drinks from, they achieve eternal youth and happiness in infinite abundance. So the search for the Grail, it's considered man's ultimate quest. It's as much spiritual as it is physical. Now, the Grail is always at the center of a round, flat table surrounded by the men of King Arthur. And you can go on Google. Pretty much all of the medieval artwork shows this. The chalice is glowing at the center, and this is because the ultimate quest is achieved when one goes to the North Pole and is able to metaphorically drink from this Holy Grail. Now, the word Grail, it traces back to the word gradalis. That comes from the Latin word critalis, and critalis means crater. So if we were to actually look at the root, it's not a holy grail, it's a holy crater at the center of a round, flat earth.